Welcome to Real Dreamz TV. I'm your host, Glenn Gilliam, and I hope we're going to be bringing you some encouraging education, some entertainment, some lively talk with great guests, professional and entrepreneurs. And I want to first say a thank you to Carolyn Butts, the founder of African Voices publication, as well as Real Sisters of the Diaspora. I can't thank her enough for affording me an opportunity to be here at M&N Studios. And I also want to dedicate this show to one of my heroes, a real pioneer. He's a great crooner, jazz musician, Nat King Cole. And Nat was the first black musician to actually host a radio and television show. And we'll talk a little bit more about him, but Nat would open up each of his shows with one of his favorite tunes. And I'm going to share a little bit, and hopefully you don't scare away after that, but we're going to open the first show with, and we're taking the training wheels off, kids. This is our first show. L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very, well, extraordinary. E, well, it's even more than anyone that you adore, and love is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two, but two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. I don't know where that came from.
I did not know. Were you in a chorus that I didn't know about there?
No, I discovered karaoke a long time, actually not too long ago, okay. But unfortunately I never wanted to venture into it until I got a little tipsy at a party one time, and I love it. And wow. You know, and we all sang in the basement back in the day, but that's for another show. Needless to say, I have to introduce my guest tonight. Curtis Archer is a long and dear friend. Long time ago we met, yes. And we're going to kick this show off with a quick little memoriam to the woman that actually brought us together.
Yeah, that's true.
Ruth Clark.
Yes. Ruth Clark.
Tell us about her.
Literally, she was my first employer and boss after graduation from college in '79. I started to work for Clark Unlimited Personnel, right. And at the time, Ruth, and this is significant, she was the largest black-owned temporary agency in the city, exactly. Bar none. Yeah. Cup, as we affectionately refer to it as. And she was significant in providing opportunities, yes. For young people, predominantly black, but we also had others,
sure.
You know, but and giving them their first shot of corporate America.
No doubt.
What it would be like.
Well, that was, yeah, she gave me one of my first shots, and I had a chance to meet Curtis and a number of really quality people. I mean, she always
Absolutely.
kept, and she was a go-getter, somebody who wouldn't take no for an answer, and so.
Well, you tell me about a black woman who had a home on Sutton Place.
That, yeah, we're going to have to do an extended show for
Yes.
her because there's so many facets to her life.
Yes.
What she did with the support network and neonatal at Harlem Hospital.
Correct.
That's for another show. Now, I got to just say, the theme for this show and why I asked Curtis to join me, one, because he is, I'll just give it away now, president of the Harlem Community Development Corporation, has been holding it down in that position for a while and really overseeing a lot of the great development that's been going on in Harlem for so many years. But he's also a film fan, and as we get into the show a little bit later, a Formula One fan, which
absolutely
for you non-believers out there, get ready.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I just want to say that we're just hoping to offer some other perspectives that you probably don't see on the regular. Folks like Curtis, we're hoping to bring those folks in here and have a chance to have some discussion about topics and ideas that I guess don't get discussed on mainstream, and the importance also of this local community TV. So we're going to talk about all of that and a whole lot more, and hopefully you guys are entertained along the way.
Well, Glenn, can I also say something?
Sure, please.
I really, really am humbled that I'm really on, I can say, your maiden voyage.
No doubt.
So thank you very, very much for really the consideration.
No, really, hey, Curtis, no one else was available. See, that's how we roll here.
Yes, yes, indeed.
This has been us for a long time.
A while.
No, really.
As a matter of fact, why I never ran for political office is because I'd have to pay him a lot of money to keep quiet. Okay, but
that is not the truth. But needless to say, I would keep quiet for money. Now I am accepting. No, one of the reasons that I'm actually, don't get used to this because I'm wearing the scarf and doing a little of this because Curtis is a film fan, I'm a film fan, and one of the celebrations that I wanted to do was having a little remembrance of one of my favorite films, and that would be Enemy of the State, starring Will Smith and Gene Hackman.
Yes.
And the cast is amazing, it's unbelievable. We're going to throw to a clip a little bit, but I definitely wanted to get your first impressions of things. But let me just tell you, 11/20/1998, 20 years ago, was the release of that film.
Incredible.
And it was so far ahead of its time.
Totally.
Just a really, I thought, not avant-garde, but Tony Scott directed it. Jerry Bruckheimer, of course, the big thriller, action-packed producer, was behind it. And it just really spoke to me back then, but I think it has so much relevance today. And I hope we'll get a chance to talk about that.
Yeah, so Julie, I'm gonna finish up my Christmas shopping. Hey, do chicks dig lingerie?
Hi.
Hey, hi.
What size?
Yeah, right. She's a 6.
What about cup size?
I'm sorry? Oh, she's way bigger than that. I mean, not noticeably.
Help me. Robert Clayton Dean. He's a DC labor attorney.
Take us around the other side.
Focus on the drop.
Is it a tape?
A powerful man has been murdered.
Holy.
A hidden camera recorded the crime.
None of this goes beyond us. We don't need any more problems, do we?
An innocent bystander
Are those my Christmas presents?
In your dreams, buddy.
Dad.
was given the evidence.
We have reason to believe that Mr. Zavitz may have passed sensitive materials to you.
No, he didn't pass me anything.
How did you happen to be at Ruby's today?
I was shopping for some lingerie. That's still legal, isn't it?
For your wife?
No, I was picking something up for myself. I do a little cross-dressing on the weekends.
Let's get into his life.
Produced by Jerry Bruckheimer.
Take his wife and kid, he'd give it up for them.
Target switching.
Directed by Tony Scott.
Why are they after me?
2 targets, rooftop.
You have something they want! I don't have anything!
Request immediate keyhole visual tasking. Target is on 21.
Don't do this to me.
Get out! 19.
Been a law-abiding citizen my whole life. One day with you, shoot.
He's running! He's on your 6 o'clock.
Will Smith.
Certainly carjacked a really nice car.
Gene Hackman.
You're either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid.
We'll see in a minute.
Enemy of the state.
Should have gotten her a watch.
to not get too far ahead, but I have to say, what is so relevant to today is the fact that Jon Voight says something that's really critical. And he says credibility is the only currency that we have in this playing field, and that speaks to we can damage a person's credibility, like you're saying, accessing your information, invading people's privacy, and they have all the tools, satellites, obviously cameras all over the place, sound devices, microphones, where they can actually infiltrate your life, get your bank records, get your telephone records, and unfortunately, you can be hacked and literally your reputation be put under, just destroyed with just a few phone calls, a few people in the right place and within government to do that. Of course, Will Smith's wife, Regina King, in the movie, is an ACLU lawyer, and she's been preaching that for years, that we are having our privacy invaded, and we really need to be fighting against that and stand up to it and protest. And Will, as a white shoe lawyer from a law firm,
he doesn't see it the same way.
He doesn't see it the same way. He'd rather blend in his blender. Anyway, but you know, I think what's really critical is that credibility is critical.
So Glenn, have Jon Voight and Vladimir Putin been seen in the same scene? I'm just curious,
No, I mean, look, I think the unfortunate thing is, and I'm glad you brought that up because really the connection to today, and not to belabor it too much, but I think it's really important. What Trump has been doing, and I vowed not to utter his name during this show.
You can't say 45 and we'll know.
Exactly. We'll know. But he has operated specifically in that whole vein of ruining reputations. Using the bully pulpit, and even before, obviously during his campaign, and really throughout his business life, sullying people's names, calling them all types of, insults.
I don't have to address your accusation. I can just do what you said. That's right. Sully the name.
I mean, and that's it. And what he's doing, and this gets even more important when he talks about fake news, presenting our critical fourth estate, the thing that we really value the most in terms of keeping, this democracy honest. Calling into account people in authority and making them accountable to the public. And granted, I've got I've got a little piece called Reclaiming My Time where I'll do a little editorial.
Maxine.
I borrowed that from Maxine Waters. Thank you, Maxine. We love her. But just a little editorial about my feelings about the media and, more importantly, corporate media and their dysfunction, and more importantly, how difficult they're making things in terms of our electorate and the disharmony that they're causing. That gave us 45. But by him calling fake news and really insulting folks and trying to, and this is what Jon Voight was doing, he said about Robert Clayton Dean, which was Will Smith's character, he said, I've seen drunks, I've seen homicide witnesses completely dismantled because he was an alcoholic. I've seen sex offenders get off scot-free because the victim was a call girl. So when you, how it relates to our community is every time there's an unarmed black man that's shot, sadly, the first thing that's done, try to sully his name. Try to say
resisting arrest or something.
Well, more importantly, Trayvon Martin. Okay. What was Trayvon doing out at that time of night? Did he
with
have
a hoodie covering up himself? I
mean, was he stealing from the store? Any and everybody. Were they smokers of weed? Were they a bad family person? Anything.
Michael Garner, loose cigarettes.
Well, I mean, of course. And then there's always the phone, the comb, whatever it is, looked like a gun, looked like a weapon. And constantly we hear those things, and sadly,
Amadou was a black wallet.
Right. Of course, and I was there. I went there with Reverend Jesse Jackson and Reverend Al Sharpton when they went up to his home and killed in the doorstep of his house. 50 shots or more. I mean, but we hear these things constantly, and that is something that is really, to me, translatable from that movie and seeing what the credibility factor is that a person can diminish it, can destroy it, and he said he wanted to make sure when Will Smith's character came out with his story, no one would believe him.
Ready to do something with it, or he doesn't know he has it.
Or he doesn't have it.
You know what I've seen? I've seen killers walk free because the eyewitness was an alcoholic. I've seen sex offenders that couldn't be touched because the victim was a call girl. Credibility. It's the the only currency that means anything on this kind of playing field. Dean's got the tape and he's going to come out with it. And when he does, I want his credibility. I want people to know he's lying before they hear what he says.
We could take his wife and kid. He'd give it up for them.
We'd have the police and the FBI all over this in 24 hours. Put taps on his 20 most frequently called numbers, and let's get into his life. The union situation has mob written all over it. And he's definitely vulnerable on Rachel Banks. I want to know about his wife. I want to know about his parents. I want to know about his gambling problems, his urine samples, his porno rentals. I want to use every means possible to get what we need. Because this little son of a bitch is not going to be the final chapter of my life.
And that's what Donald Trump has been trying to do this whole time.
He has.
Discredit Robert Mueller, discredit, unfortunately, his own his own assets, intelligence agencies.
Michael Cohen now.
Michael Cohen.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Don't believe my liar. You know, I mean, I don't even want to go down that road.
Yeah.
But I think there's some really great points from the movie, and it's entertaining.
Yes, it is. Very good. Very suspenseful. Great
Excellent.
Actors. I mean, it was, you know, some of the ones I just think about. I was thinking about my guy Barry Pepper. Who,
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
I mean,
sure. Well, I mean, you had Scott Conn. Okay, Seth Green.
Yes.
Jack Black.
Yeah.
And the beautiful Lisa Bonet. And this is an interesting part. And I'll just mention this before we move along. But to find out that Will Smith wasn't the first choice.
Who was the first choice?
They were trying to get either Mel Gibson or Tom Hanks.
No.
Unbelievable,
Really?
right?
Oh,
no,
wow.
I mean, it's amazing.
Wow.
And this was in 1998. Will was at the height of his powers.
Yes.
Jerry Bruckheimer had produced a number of his films. But the mere fact that Will Smith ended up taking that lead role, now you have Regina King, Regina, who gets to play his wife.
Yes.
And Lisa Bonet gets to play his love interest and his contact. And then we have Gene Hackman, who plays the NSA ex-veteran who helps Will.
That's right. Come out of the
flip
cold.
the script on
That's
him.
right.
And he lives in a jar. And I mean, there's just some great information in there. But and some of Gene Smith's lines are amazing.
Well, you know what, and if I'm thinking about some, let's say, some other movies or films that one should also consider. Consider this one it was part of the Tom Clancy trilogy that they had.
Right.
And I think it might have been Patriot Games.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, but literally using satellite technology to see, okay, I can actually, from the sky, from the heavens, I can see where the terrorist camp is.
Oh, yeah.
And
no
you know
question.
what?
Yeah.
And I can take it out.
Right. Well, I mean, we're in the age of drones. And,
Yep.
and like I say, I don't want to get too far off topic because we can do that. And my producer, who loves to talk, she can't wait for me to get into these squalls. But I think that's going to be a part of, hopefully, the conversation we have going forward is about things that matter. And drones, I mean, I'm not happy with drones or autonomous driving or any of the stuff that, you know.
But Glenn,
I'm all for technology.
Do you accept it's part of the future?
You know what? I mean, look, everything is part of the future if we allow it. I mean, I think that's something that's real important. And that's why I think these, hopefully, local community shows, and Curtis and I have talked about it, in my home residence in Queens.
That's right.
Trying to get local TV back there because
Jamaica in the house.
Yeah, exactly. But the community's voice is needed. It's necessary more than ever. And we've got questionable people at the FCC trying to, take away net neutrality.
Yes.
So there's a lot that we got to be conscious of. Of course, we got to enjoy our films, and I got to tell you, I'm going to put thanks to everybody who contributed some of their favorite films to a list that I had put up on social media on Facebook. Thank you, Curtis.
Tell me that you do have Godfather in there, please.
That was a favorite amongst many.
Thank you.
But I will be giving that tally out at a future show.
Okay.
But I think what's really critical is there's so much excitement, obviously, around the plethora of great black films that have been coming out. And I do want to touch on, because we're going to have a future show to talk to actually some comic book veterans on the artistic side as well as the editor side and the writing side. But I got to ask, I mean, this was the year of Black Panther. It seems like a lifetime ago almost because it was the beginning of the year. What was your first thoughts when it came out?
Loved it. Especially being a character that could stand on its own.
Oh, well.
It didn't necessarily have to be part of the Marvel universe, but it is.
And I got to say, rest in peace, Stan Lee. We just
Yeah,
lost him
to
shooting of this show.
Who was the one who did this back in the 60s.
Unbelievable. Him and Stan Kirby. I mean, excuse me, George Kirby?
George,
no, I'm gonna blow his name. Kirby is the
Jack
last
Kirby.
name. Jack Kirby.
Jack Kirby.
You are here for a reason. Thank you, Curtis.
But absolutely.
But yeah, and that's the fun. It was so funny though, because when the movie was coming out and there was all this talk about the incomparable Ryan Coogler's direction and putting the storyline together and doing all of that, and the mere fact that Ryan comes from Oakland.
Yep, you got it.
And the mere fact that...
Can you say Fruitvale Station?
Fruitvale Station, of course, and we know what he did with Creed. But to be from Oakland, which is the birthplace of the Black Panther.
Yes, indeed.
Black Panther
yes,
Party.
Indeed.
And I know I was wondering, and there were people going back and forth saying, wait a second now, what came first? Did the Black Panther Party inspire Stan Lee? Potentially.
Potentially, yes.
But no, well, we got that cleared up.
Right.
At least I think I got it cleared up.
Tell me.
Yeah.
So what came first?
Well, no. Needless to say, Stan Lee and actually Jack Kirby did their naming before the Black Panther Party, but it was a completely different perspective, obviously, from the Black Panther Party in terms of why they took on that nomenclature. Stan Lee, I think, was just really, a visionary.
Nice.
In putting that name on there. They had to tweak the costume a little bit. They had, but the storylines and what Reginald Hudlin has contributed to it, and comic book fans that are much more in depth than I am. But he brought Suri to the table in his series of writings about Black Panther, which is amazing. Because what she represents within the movie is absolutely mind-boggling.
The future.
Yeah. It really is.
Women's lib.
Just,
I mean.
Well, just to be, the technology and scientific expert on the film, that was probably, I thought that was really the breakout role between her and my man M'Baku, Winston. I mean,
Yes, totally.
He had a great role.
A noble brother, too.
A noble brother. Well, I mean, and I don't want to get too far astride, but the women in the movie, everybody talks about it. They've been admired, and rightfully so, and they all could have their own individual films.
Totally.
Because those characters were so strong.
Beautiful, strong women.
Right, and the reason that Suri really resonated with me, I got to tell you, and you know my passion for African-American inventors and inventors of African descent, that was the only morsel of information that I wouldn't mind if Ryan had just stuck a name in there, a Granville T. Woods or a Lewis Latimer, just throw, George Washington Carver, throw somebody in there. But Granville T. Woods would have been perfect because...
And he's Wakandan. I would love that. I would love that, yes,
Well, the invention of the subway was by a black man. And, this is a different show, but we will be giving out those nuggets as well each and every week. Because one of my mentors was Lady Salah Shabazz, who created the Little Known Black History Facts, which Tavis Smiley as well as Tom Joyner still talk about on their radio broadcast.
Wow.
And she really turned the tables back in the late 90s, talking about that, getting the African American Inventors Bus Tour, which Ice Cube funded initially. Unfortunately, she died way too young, but her whole focus, which we never really talk about. And that's one of the things I have a little bit of concern, I shouldn't say that. Well, a little bit of concern with our new Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. I don't know if they give enough credit to the black inventors and what we've contributed to society from that perspective. I've got to go through a lot more of the museum. I've only been there once.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. It is massive.
It is massive, 6 floors or so.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot to see there.
Wear comfortable shoes.
Yeah, no doubt. But let me just ask you, since you've been there, did you see any of those inventors being recognized? How
the
vast
short
was
answer, I absolutely saw some.
Okay.
The longer answer is that I didn't have enough time because in my capacity as at Harlem Community Development Corporation, we had actually donated something.
Excellent.
So do you remember the neon Minton's Playhouse sign?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So next time, ladies and gentlemen, you are at the museum, go to the 4th floor, and you'll see Bootsy Collins' uniform. Look then to the right, and in the rafters, you'll see it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, look, perfect segue. We've got some different segments that hopefully you guys will be interested in and follow week to week. But one of the segments, and one of the most important ones, is what I like to call, there's kind of two versions of it, Black Behind the Scenes, which will be a little bit more geared toward entertainment, film and TV and those types of things. But in terms of just getting a chance to speak to professionals like Curtis, it's really about industry insiders and folks who have positions, and hopefully young people will gravitate and get a chance to see something that maybe they don't see everywhere else. Tell us a little bit about the Harlem Community Development Corporation and why it's so important and been so integral.
Well, you know what, Glenn, I might even want to even go back a little bit further if I may.
Please.
So really getting into the whole space of community development back in 1989 under then Mayor David Dinkins. So I credit David Dinkins with giving me my shot, giving me the opportunity to take a job with the New York City Department of Business Services, which is now the Department of Small Business Services, but giving me that shot. And literally, Glenn, a light bulb went off in my head and said, this is what I want to do.
Beautiful.
This is what I want to dedicate my life to do, towards. Because literally after graduation, undergrad, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
You know, so I'm kind of like bouncing around here and there.
Sure.
And I went to graduate school at Columbia, at the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences to study political science.
Right.
89, that opportunity came, and all of my jobs have been in that particular space. Now,
I got to commend you on that. Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Well, 2006 is when I literally came to Harlem Community Development Corporation under then Governor George Pataki's administration, and I assumed the mantle. And I tell you, it's been a beautiful, beautiful ride. I'm now, as you know, under my fourth governor, and this is Governor Andrew Cuomo, and literally now the job has shifted in terms of real estate development. We really don't do it because there are not many parcels of publicly owned land anymore.
Right.
It's all in private hands now.
Sure.
So my job now is to, if you're a small business owner, my job is to make sure that you get the resources to come into the community and make your opportunities more efficient. And for you to either access the financing, or maybe it might be, you need some marketing prowess. You know, all of those particular things. That's my job at Harlem Community Development Corporation, to make sure that Glenn Gilliam Enterprises are successful in coming into the community.
No, Curtis, that's so important. I think it's something that most folks are not even aware that those resources may be available. That is something that hopefully my social media, as well as giving you guys a link to Curtis's office. And I know you've attended many small business meetings, Harlem Business Alliance, Silicon Harlem.
You got it. Those are all of our strategic partners. As a matter of fact, if you want to know anything about us, I encourage the listening audience to please go to our website at www.harlemcdc.org.